The Sunday brunch at Riverside Country Club was supposed to be a celebration. My brother Marcus had insisted we toast his daughter Jennifer's promotion to Chief Executive Officer of a regional marketing firm. At 28 she'd climbed fast and Marcus never missed a chance to remind everyone. I watched my daughter Sophie arrive, still in her grocery store uniform. She'd worked a double shift yesterday and had another tonight. The dark circles under her eyes spoke of exhaustion she tried to hide. "There's my successful granddaughter," Dad announced as Jennifer arrived. He stood to embrace her, his voice carrying across the dining room. "CEO at 28. I always knew you'd make something of yourself." Sophie slipped into the chair beside me. I squeezed her hand under the table. "Sorry I'm late," Sophie said quietly. The morning rush ran over. Marcus glanced at her uniform with disdain. "Still at the grocery store, Sophie?" "It pays the bills," Sophie replied evenly. Dad leaned back, swirling his scotch. "When I was your age I was managing a department. Your cousin's running a company. What's your excuse?" My jaw tightened, but I kept my expression neutral. Sophie had heard variations of this speech countless times. "I'm working on things, Grandpa," Sophie said softly. "Working on things," Dad repeated with a dismissive laugh. Jennifer was working on things too, but she actually achieved them. There's a difference between dreaming and doing. The waiter appeared. Dad ordered the most expensive steak without glancing at the prices. Marcus ordered lobster. Sophie asked for soup. "Just soup." Dad raised his eyebrows. "I'm paying." I ate before my shift. That was a lie. Her refrigerator had been empty when I visited Thursday. She was eating once daily to save money, helping with my rent after I'd supposedly lost my consulting contract 6 months ago. Dad launched into Jennifer's accomplishments, casting pointed glances at Sophie. The corner office, the company car, the speaking engagements, and the salary, Marcus added. 6 figures base plus bonuses. Sophie's cheeks flushed. "What are you making, Sophie?" Dad asked. $12 an hour? "Dad, that's enough," I said quietly. "I'm making a point. The girl needs motivation. 26 years old, working as a cashier. When are you getting serious?" "I am serious about my future," Sophie whispered. Dad laughed. "Your cousin's already a CEO while you're just a cashier. Scanning groceries. That's not a future, sweetheart. That's treading water." I watched a tear form in the corner of Sophie's eye. She blinked rapidly, trying to force it back. Her hand trembled slightly as she reached for her water glass. I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app. The timing was perfect. "Interesting timing, Dad," I said calmly. "That retirement fund you asked me to manage last year? I transferred it back to your account this morning." "All of it?" His confusion deepened. "Why, you're getting excellent returns. The account's up 32%. I'm closing my client list, focusing on other ventures." I pulled up another screen. "Also, that country club membership you've had for 15 years? Check the owner's name." I turned my phone around, showing the property deed. Dad squinted at the screen, then paled. "That's your name?" "Yes. I purchased Riverside Country Club 8 months ago. Private sale." The table went silent. "You bought this country club?" Marcus said slowly. "The club, golf course, tennis courts, restaurant. It's been a solid investment." Dad set down his glass. "You said you were struggling." "I lost that contract. It freed time for other investments. Consulting was never my primary income." Sophie stared at me, tears forgotten. I'd kept this quiet from everyone. "Other investments," Dad repeated. "The country club is one of 5 properties I own. I also have commercial real estate and a venture capital fund focused on women-owned businesses." I paused. "Sophie's been helping me research investments. She has excellent instincts." That was true. Sophie reviewed business proposals on weekends, thinking it was volunteer work. I paid consulting fees into an investment account in her name. Marcus found his voice. "But you drive a 10-year-old Honda." "I like my Honda. And the apartment is in a building I own." I smiled. "I've never seen the point in flashy displays." Jennifer smiled. "Good for you, Aunt Sarah." Dad's face shifted from pale to red. "You let me think you were struggling. You assumed I was struggling." "I never said it. You saw the old car and drew conclusions." The waiter arrived with the meals. Dad stared at his steak. I continued, starting tomorrow I'm implementing changes at the club. Restructuring membership tiers and fees. We're also eliminating legacy membership transfers. Each generation will need to apply independently. Dad's membership had been a legacy transfer. That chain had just broken. That policy's been in place for 40 years, Dad said. And it created an insular environment. The board voted unanimously last week. Sophie was still processing everything, her soup untouched. I nudged her gently. Eat, sweetheart. It'll get cold. She picked up her spoon mechanically, her eyes still wide. Now about that cashier job, I said, looking at Dad. Sophie's been working there specifically at my request. I needed someone I trusted to conduct field research on retail operations and customer service workflows. She's been documenting everything, from inventory management to peak traffic patterns to employee satisfaction indicators. Sophie blinked. I have. All those notes you've been keeping in your phone about inefficiencies and customer complaints? That's research data. Very valuable research data, actually. I've been using it to consult with 3 different retail chains on operational improvements. I smiled at her. You're very good at identifying systemic problems. I just thought I was venting, Sophie said faintly. Constructive venting, I amended. The kind that comes with detailed observations and potential solutions. That's analysis, not venting. Marcus had barely touched his lobster. You're telling us you're some secret millionaire? Not secret. Just modest. There's a difference. I gestured around. This place is beautiful, but I don't need to eat here weekly to prove I can afford it. Dad had gone quiet, staring at his plate. Jennifer spoke. Half the stress of my job is maintaining appearances. The car, the clothes. It's exhausting. Then stop, I said. You're the CEO. You define what leadership looks like. The board expects certain standards. The board expects results. How you dress is secondary. I turned to Dad. That's the thing about actual success versus performance. One requires substance. The other just requires props. Sophie spoke. You've been supporting me this whole time. Those scholarship refunds. You earned those through research work. I formalized the compensation without mentioning it. I met her eyes. You were exhausting yourself trying to help me. I wasn't going to let you sacrifice your health. But I wanted to help you. You did help me. You are helping me, just not in the way you thought. I squeezed her hand again. The difference is you're getting paid for it now, and you can stop working doubles at the grocery store unless you genuinely want to continue the research project there. Dad finally found his voice. You humiliated me. In front of my family. No, Dad. You humiliated yourself by using my daughter as a prop in your ongoing need to rank everyone's worth by their job title and salary. I just corrected the factual inaccuracies in your assessment. I was trying to motivate her. You were trying to shame her. There's a difference. My voice remained calm but firm. Sophie works hard. She's intelligent, kind, and resourceful. The fact that she chose to help her struggling mother instead of chasing corporate promotions doesn't make her less valuable than Jennifer. It makes her compassionate. Jennifer nodded quietly, pushing her salad around her plate. Marcus cleared his throat. So what now? You're just going to lord this over us. Lord what? My financial portfolio? No, Marcus. I'm going to continue doing exactly what I've been doing. Living my life, making my investments, and supporting my daughter. The only thing that's changing is Dad's running commentary on our failures. I pulled up my email again, scrolling to a message I'd received that morning. Actually, Sophie, this might be a good time to mention that the venture capital fund I run is partnering with a startup accelerator program. They're looking for someone to manage retail and consumer services sector investments. It's a full-time position with benefits and equity participation. Sophie's eyes widened. Are you offering me a job? I'm telling you about an opportunity. Whether you apply is entirely up to you. The program director is expecting applications by Friday. I forwarded her the email. You'd be qualified even without our family connection. Your field research and analytical work over the past year make you a strong candidate. But I don't have a business degree. Neither do half the successful entrepreneurs I've funded. You have practical experience, critical thinking skills, and genuine insight into how businesses actually function at the ground level. That's worth more than a framed diploma. Dad pushed his plate away, the steak barely touched. I suppose you think you've proven some kind of point. I haven't proven anything, Dad. I've simply clarified the situation. You've spent years judging people based on surface-level markers of success while completely missing what actually matters. I finished my salmon, setting my fork down with a quiet click. Sophie could have been a CEO like Jennifer and still been miserable. Or she could be a cashier and be fulfilled. The job title is irrelevant compared to the person doing the job. Easy to say when you're secretly wealthy. Wealth doesn't change character, Dad. It just reveals it. I had money when you were lecturing me about financial responsibility, and I'll have money tomorrow when you're processing this conversation. The difference is now you know. And knowing changes how you see me, which says everything about how you measure worth. The table fell silent again. Around us, other families enjoyed their Sunday brunch, laughing and talking, completely unaware of the quiet earthquake happening at our table. Sophie's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, then looked at me with something between shock and hope. This position pays more than I've made in the past 2 years combined. Plus equity. If the startups succeed, you'll own a percentage of very valuable companies. I smiled. But again, only if you're interested. No pressure. Jennifer leaned forward. Can I ask you something, Aunt Sarah? Why no? Why reveal everything today? I considered the question carefully. Because I watched my daughter blink back tears at a family brunch, trying not to cry because her grandfather mocked her job and her worth. That's not something I'm willing to tolerate anymore, family or not. Dad's face was unreadable now, somewhere between anger and shame. I've spent years keeping quiet about my success because I didn't want money to complicate family relationships. But silence enabled you to create a hierarchy that hurt people I love. So yes, I'm speaking up. And yes, things will be different now. Marcus shifted uncomfortably. Different how? Different in that I won't be attending events where my daughter is treated as less than. Different in that I'll be setting boundaries around acceptable behavior. Different in that my financial support for various family members will continue only in relationships built on mutual respect. Dad's head snapped up. Financial support? Did you think that cruise you took last year was entirely funded by your pension? Or that the down payment assistance Marcus received for his house came from his savings? I kept my voice neutral. I've been quietly helping family members for years. Anonymously, usually through third-party channels. Because I wanted to help, not to gain leverage. The implication hung in the air. I had leverage now whether I wanted it or not. Sophie stood abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. For a moment I thought she was leaving. Instead she walked around the table and hugged me tight and fierce. "Thank you," she whispered. "For everything. Not just the money. For believing I was worth defending." I hugged her back, feeling tears prick my own eyes now. "Always, sweetheart. Always." When she returned to her seat, her shoulders were straighter, her head held higher. The exhausted cashier had transformed into someone who knew her worth, regardless of what name tag she wore. Dad stood slowly, pulling out his wallet. "I should pay for lunch." "It's already covered," I said quietly. "Owner's privilege." He nodded stiffly, then walked toward the exit without another word. Marcus followed after a moment's hesitation, throwing an awkward wave in our direction. Jennifer remained, a small smile on her face. That was the most epic thing I've ever witnessed at a family function. "I didn't plan it this way," I admitted. "Maybe not. But it was perfect timing." She raised her water glass. "To Aunt Sarah, queen of the long game." Sophie raised hers too. "And to actual success, not just the appearance of it." I clinked my glass against theirs, feeling lighter than I had in months. The secret was out. The careful facade had crumbled. And somehow I felt more myself than I had in years. "So," Sophie said, pulling up the job posting on her phone, "tell me more about this venture capital position." I smiled, settling back in my chair. "Well, it starts with understanding that the best investments aren't always the flashiest ones." As we talked, I noticed the country club manager approaching, tablet in hand, with questions about the upcoming renovation budget. Sophie watched the interaction with new eyes, seeing not just her mother, but the woman who owned this entire operation. When the manager left, Sophie shook her head in wonder. "How did I not know?" "Because I didn't want you to. I wanted you to build your own path without the pressure of my expectations or my money influencing your choices." I paused. Though I'm realizing now that trying to protect you from that knowledge also left you vulnerable to other people's judgments. I'm glad I know now, Sophie said firmly. And I'm applying for that position. Good. The director will be lucky to have you. I gathered my purse, leaving a generous tip for our waiter, even though I technically employed him. Now how about we skip the rest of this family gathering and go do something actually fun? Like what? Like visiting that farmer's market I mentioned. Then maybe we tour the new property I'm considering purchasing downtown. It's a historic building that would make an excellent mixed-use development. I could use your eye for practical design. Sophie's smile was radiant now, all traces of tears gone. That sounds perfect. As we walked through the country club toward the exit, I caught several members glancing our way with new recognition. The word would spread quickly now. The quiet woman with the old Honda was actually the new owner. The struggling single mother was actually a successful investor. Let them talk. I'd spent enough years worrying about other people's perceptions. Sophie linked her arm through mine as we stepped into the afternoon sunshine. Mom? For the record, I think you're amazing. Right back at you, sweetheart. CEO or cashier or anything in between. And I meant every word.